Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Roadmap to Rare. My name's Eric Finn. I'll be your host. And while we're here, we'll talk about the reality of rare disease journeys, sharing hope through real stories, real challenges, and research. Being episode 1, this episode I'm going to take the time to kind of introduce myself, talk a little bit more about my family and our experiences and our journey through finding out our son has Okur-Chung Neurodevelopmental Syndrome. He's one of about 400 people in the world that have been diagnosed with this ultra rare disease. I will say I'm not a huge fan of using the word disease in this kind of a sense, just because I feel like disease is more of a you can wash your hands, you get rid of the disease, where our son has a genetic mutation that we can't quite just wash our hands and kind of be done with it. It's something that he'll live with the rest of his life. He'll have to go through different therapies, which he's already in quite a bit, and I'll talk a little bit more of that as we go down the road. So I guess my journey started moving out to Wyoming. I live in Wyoming now. I'm from Ohio originally, and was dating my wife at the time, and we're like, well, we're a little bit older. Let's go ahead and think about our family. And we thought about it. We ended up my wife got pregnant, and we ended up having our son Ronan, who just turned 6, April 3rd of this year. So it's been a few years of him and this whole journey that we know so far. And about 9 months into him just growing and being a little dude that we know, and this goofy little guy that didn't quite start to crawl yet, just like the army crawl. He was a fast army crawler, just basically kind of moving his arms, kind of moving his one leg, and we thought, well, that doesn't seem like he should be there. It seemed like he should be farther along in his development. But we had an idea, and my wife had the the mother's intuition, that gut feeling of there's just something not right. And we end up having a friend that has another ultra rare disease, and my wife was really good friends with her, and she ended up talking to her a little bit, and as she was talking through, just told her to say, hey, you know what, if that's what you feel like in your gut, then why don't you follow that? So we ended up going to Billings. Denver's about 5 hours, Billings about 3 hours. Uh, so we went to Billings, got the genetic testing done, met with the doctors. They went through their process, and we're like, well, yeah, I think he's got a delay. And the first round of genetic testing came through, and he doesn't have anything that matches any of what we're looking for on this uh, screening. So we're like, well, let's go to the second round of genetic testing. And so we did. It took a little bit. We kept having them say, well, there's cost involved with it. We might not find anything. We normally don't find anything in the second round of genetic testing. And took my wife pushing back and pushing back and pushing back. And finally, yeah, we're going to pay for it. You're not going to have to pay for it. We want to know, just because we feel more peace of mind knowing we did everything we could to know more about our son and maybe what he might have. And so finally they did it. And my wife got the call. I forget how long it was afterwards about, oh yeah, we got the second round of genetic testing back, and he does have a genetic disease called Okur-Chung Neurodevelopmental Syndrome. So it was a big day of my wife kind of then letting me know. I can't remember if it was a phone call or a text, and us kind of figuring out what that means. And one thing about my wife that always helps is she's a very deep diver of everything. Like, oh, we got something new. I'm gonna find out anything I can about this. So she ended up doing some Google researches and asking some of her friends, and ended up being able to read as much as we could about what we knew at the time with the syndrome. And I want to say when he first was diagnosed, there was only about 150 in the world that were diagnosed, and went through the whole process. And we ended up, of course, this day and age, do the Google search, you read it, and you're like, well, I wonder if there's something on Facebook about it. So just did a quick, OCNDS or Okur-Chung Neurodevelopmental Syndrome search in Facebook, and ended up finding the Facebook groups. There were 2 Facebook groups that we found. One of them we found out later, was the family if you have a family member that you can learn more about Okur-Chung and everything else that's going on in that realm, and how you can better know how you can help those families, those kind of things. And there's another one that's specifically for those parents that have a child with Okur-Chung Neurodevelopmental Syndrome. And the foundation that backs it also helps to run that Facebook page, and it was closed. And so we requested to be added to the group, and it's kind of funny. On our side, we always like to listen to true crime podcasts, and we just finished one about this lady who had infiltrated some cancer Facebook pages and ended up finding out she didn't have cancer. So it was kind of nice to see that this group had kind of some locks on it, and then they also were able to vet those people, because when we requested to join, we got a message back saying, "Oh, you have somebody diagnosed with it. Great. Can we see the report that you got from the doctors?" And we're like, "Oh, it's interesting." The nice thing is, with this syndrome, the people that discovered it are still alive and practicing. So they actually were able to send off the report to those doctors. They looked over it, said, "Yep, there it is. We see it in there." So they do definitely have OCNDS. So we got let into the group, and yeah, my wife teaches English at our local community college. So she was like, "Well, I want to try to get the word out." So we ended up getting some press through the newspaper, and had a story written about him and our journey up into that point. They got some really nice pictures on the front page, and he was a COVID baby, so that was another part of the story, was our journey through COVID and, giving birth, that whole process. But at the same time, hey, he also has an ultra rare uh, disease in the smallest state in the United States, population wise. And it got a lot of traction, which was really great. And then my wife got approached to be part of the parental advisory board and be an active part of OCNDS and the foundation that helps to support the research and discoveries, things that are going on, being able to connect all those families, either in the United States or abroad, all around the world, connecting those families to share their stories, to share what's going on right now. Our son's only 6, but there's other kids that are 20, there's other kids that are 10, and being able to say, "Hey, this is what we saw when they were that age," and being able to share those experiences has really helped us better understand where our son can go, where he can develop. Now, again, like I said before, there's different variations of what happens to the specific gene that leads to having OCNDS. Our son has a mutation of the gene, and because it's a mutation, he has some of his characteristics that you can see. He's got low muscle tone, so the hypotrophy, um, low muscle tone, so that getting to walking to jumping to climbing took him a lot longer. With PT, we ended up contacting our local Children's Developmental Center, and we were able to get in touch with the Part C program, which is those kids that are birthed to 3 families with children that have a developmental delay. And through that, we were able to get speech therapy to help him, help us understand how to better work with our son to be able to, we read to him. But, yeah, we're both college educated parents. We read to him. We have books. He likes to listen to us read. And they're like, "Well, there's a little bit more to it than that." So better understanding of how to help him through speech, occupational therapy, working with, the finer things like stringing beads, working with crayons, eating, that kind of stuff. And then physical therapy to help with walking, climbing, jumping, those kind of things, which he's still working on some of them, which he's going to for a while, but he's definitely blossomed into who he is today. So we also get speech therapy at 2 different places outside of the preschool that he's at now, and we do equine therapy. So the riding of the horse helps to kind of stabilize those core muscles and help him work more on body awareness and how to manipulate himself and to be able to stay steady. And they've even done a great job of introducing the speech therapy part to it too, him saying the commands to the horse, or as he's going around on the horse, they'd be like, "Oh, where's the snake?" And he'd try to find the snake. So being able to do those two things at once have really helped him grow. So we're able to find all those services, which actually kind of brings me into where I'm working now. I actually work for the same children developmental center that we had our son evaluated through. We went on services with until he turned 3, and then now he's at the same preschool that I work in the same building, but not in the same program as him. So I get to see him every day and talk to his special education teacher and his regular education teacher. Are able to say like, oh my gosh, today was a great day. He ended up running like played with 4 or 5 kids back and forth, and they were able to play imaginative play, or he shared his dinosaurs with another kid, which is a huge deal, being an only child and everything else. And it's really cute. His special ed teacher would come in one day and she was like, I just want you to know, he spent 15 minutes in my lap playing with other things and other kids, and it was the highlight of my year so far. So those kind of stories are really great to hear from the people that work with your child. Granted, here is only about 3 hours, but he gets so much out of it. They get so much out of it. It's really great to hear. So we're in the foundation through the professional advisory board and able to connect with a lot of other people. It's great to have that kind of a foundation to build off of, really, to use the same word. Because our friends that have a child with another ultra rare disease, they don't have a foundation that supports their specific disease as well as ours, and it's interesting to hear the back and forth. They're like, oh my gosh, I wish we had that, or oh man, that's really great. So to know how well we have it is really nice to see, but also being able to share our stories through things like our podcast. We had a group of 5 of us, including myself, that went to DC and advocated for children with rare diseases to our representatives, to our senators in DC, and let them know a little bit more about, the people who live in their state and what we go through every day and how they can help us. So being able to get our message out there and being able to hopefully impact more kids through our advocacy is what we're really here for, to be able to kind of lessen the burden on just one family and be like, oh man, I listened, and that's exactly what's going on with me, so I don't feel like I'm alone in this capacity with my own kids. So where I'd like to take a lot of this is for those families to understand that there are people out there going through the exact same thing you are. I would personally like to help make those pushes for genetic testing easier for families. I feel a lot of them feel like the money's going to be too much, or I don't know, or what's it going to do, what's it going to take to help lessen that burden on the families, and also to help with anything those people have that are questions that they might just not know where to answer them. So one last thing before I conclude and we move on to talking a little bit about our next few episodes is that the day that everything kind of changed for our family, and how I don't feel like it was a huge change. It was a mindset, really, of, oh wow, okay, our son has a ultra rare genetic disorder that it happened. We didn't give him that. Didn't live in any of our either of our DNA. What happened, and we as parents can change our view of their world, the child's world, and how we can help to impact them having the best possible opportunities as best we possibly can. It took a little bit to be like, oh, okay, yeah, our son does have these different characteristics: the low muscle tone, the slower to walk, to crawl, the lack of speech, or the later to speak. And there are others that have epilepsy that might have more severe characteristics of OCNDS. We were lucky enough that our son doesn't have epilepsy. He's able to sleep really well. So, kind of understanding where he's at, where he needs to be, and how we can help get him to that next step the best way possible. So I think a lot of it changes kind of in your mindset and how you approach those different situations, and listening to those professionals like the speech language pathologists, like the occupational therapists of, okay, this is what we're doing. Okay. And don't feel bad to ask why. I feel like that's where a lot of my mindset comes from is, okay, all right, I see what you're doing, but why are we doing it this way? Helps to better understand, oh, well, all they really wanted to do is have him interact with the parent. Like, oh, they're going to roll the ball. Oh, well, can we do with other things? Yeah. Our goal is just to have him interact with you. So you can use anything after that. It doesn't have to be just the red ball that we brought today. It can be anything. Or, oh, when you're helping them to understand what they can say to help you as a parent, you can say, oh, I heard you say this. Or, one of the biggest ones was give him the words that you want him to say. And if he says those, that's what you're going to do, and stick to that. So changing your mindset to, oh, do you want me to carry you? And so they'll usually come back with carry you. Well, okay, we don't want them to use you. And so when you ask them, oh, do you want me to carry you? And they nod, oh, then you can say, carry me. And just slowing yourself down and giving yourself grace to, okay, I want to give him the words. I don't want to test him. Oh, what's this? Is that a pencil? It's a pencil. Oh, what's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? If we did that to you as adults, you probably want to punch the person that did that. So instead of questioning them, just give them the words of what it is, and let them have time to process, and let them have their own time to be able to come to terms with, okay, now I can say that. And if it's a low pressure situation where you're not always demanding them say whatever word it is, then it definitely helps cutting down the anxiety from the child's point of view, and it just helps to create that fostering, loving relationship that on their side, instead of, oh my, if I go to dad or if I go to mom, it's only going to be questions and they're not going to give me what I want. And a lot of the people that I've worked with and I live with in other capacities are really great parents, which is awesome. They know exactly what's wrong, what they can do, and they just end up doing it because it's just quicker and easier. But giving those kids, those children, the opportunity to use their words, or at least give them the words, and then allowing them to come, maybe it takes them a minute or two, maybe it takes them some processing time to say it, can help and give dividends back as you guys go forward in your journey. So like I said, that was kind of our day that our life kind of changed. And as we go forward with our other episodes, we'll have some other parents like myself come in and talk and take some time and talk about their journeys, what they've seen. And also we're lucky enough to have a few doctors come in and talk about their research specifically for Okur-Chung Neurodevelopmental Syndrome, and where they're seeing trends and where they're able to use some of their research to talk to us as parents and as a community a little bit better about what they're seeing on their side and how it relates to those parents that are going through the same journeys, maybe within OCNDS or in other areas too. So that being said, thank you for listening today on episode 1 on Roadmap to Rare. Check back in 2 weeks for our next episode. And like always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and listen to and share wherever you listen to your podcasts.